Hi, this is Michael Roth with Blue Oak Property Management. In this video, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of investing in college properties here in Chico, California. One of the benefits of investing in real estate in Chico is not only do you have your typical real estate investments, but because we have a state university here in Chico State, as well as a junior college in Butte College, there is a wealth of opportunity in student investment properties. So a lot of times I get calls from people from the Bay Area that went to Chico State and they decide they want to invest in Chico. They remember going to college here, so they're only thinking college properties. So I got to sort of say, hey, we have traditional properties here too, and vice versa. A lot of times when I have a Chico investor, they're only thinking about traditional investments and not student properties. So I got to say, hey, have you ever thought about student properties as well? Let's talk this out and see which one might be best for you. All right. So some of the pros for investing in college properties here in Chico. Pro number one, typically you get a higher price per door. Students are only worried about their room price because they're not worried about what the whole rental amount is. All they care is like, I can afford X amount of dollars, and so what's my portion going to be? So what ends up happening is same house. If you took it in the traditional area and put it in the college area, say the traditional one rents for $2,000 a month, the college one could rent anywhere from $2,500 to $2,800 a month. Again, just all things equal, one's in the college. The price fluctuation that we're seeing right now per door for college is starting out at $600 per door, and I see it as high as $950 per door. Of course, that's right now here in 2021. That is constantly changing. Number two pro, less vacancy. Why is that? Because the student housing is all pre-leased. Typically, students will start looking for properties for the following school year in the early spring. We get some calls as early as January, but typically early spring, so starting in March, they start looking for where they're going to live for the next school year. So they're all leased up. Those properties are leased up before they even graduate school in May. And then what happens is that the old tenants will move out, and we can turn those properties in 3 to 7 days, depending on size of the property and what needs to be done there. And then the new tenants move in. So you have very little vacancy. You know, usually on a bad year, a week of vacancy for the whole year. Another pro number three is reliable rent income. And what we mean by that, is typically the students are going to have either their parents are going to be paying the rent, they're getting student loans that helps them pay the rent, so there's some income stream. And again, if they don't pay their rent, they have co-signers, and so not only do you call the kid and tell them, hey, you haven't paid your rent, but you can call the parents as well or the co-signer and said, hey, you know, rent hasn't been paid. So there's a more steady income stream there. Another pro is typically college kids have lower expectations. They're more worried about location, how close is it to school, is everything within walking and biking distance for me, can I get to the restaurants from here, can I walk to school, how close is it to the park. They understand that the college area, you know, some of these houses are late 1800s built, early 1900s. They don't expect it to be in perfect condition. They don't expect it to have granite countertops, you know, high-end appliances, all like that. One other pro, or last pro I should say, possible higher resale value. Again, we're talking about the house, same house rents for $2,000. This other house rents for $2,800. Just based on the rental amount, you should be able to get a higher resale value in the college area property than you would in the traditional property. All right, let's talk about some cons with college properties. Con number one, they are college students, so there is a chance to be in some higher wear and tear on your property and damage. However, that being said, I also preface the horror stories people say about like all the rooms had holes in the walls and the house was destroyed. Rarely happens in our experience. Typically it's going to be, the house is going to be a lot dirtier than like a traditional property. It's going to require a lot more cleaning. But again, they are college kids. They're more likely to have people over. They're more likely to have parties in there. So there's a little more wear and tear that you have to deal with on those type of properties. Con number two, inexperienced tenants. there is going to be a lot of hand holding that needs to happen with these tenants. A lot of them are, this is going to be their first time leaving their house where they grew up with their parents. A lot of times they might have lived in the dorms for a year, or this might be their second time doing it. So you have to walk them through the application process. You have to walk them through the move-in process. You have to walk them through paying rent process. And you got to walk them through the moving out process. So a little more work in that area. Con number 3, demand is dependent here on enrollment at Chico State. So when demand goes down, when the enrollment goes down, obviously there might be more rental properties out there than there are students going to college. And then what happens then is it doesn't get backfilled by normal people living in Chico because they don't want to live in the college area for obvious reasons. So a lot of times you might have to drop rents at certain times to get students into your property. Another con is certain types of properties are harder to rent. I am a Chico State grad, and when I went to Chico State, we all wanted to live in the 8-bedroom house with all our friends because there was no internet back in those days. There was no cell phone, no social media. So the way we knew what was going on around Chico is to live in these large houses with all these people. Well, that's not true today, obviously, with all the reasons I just said. So a lot of times smaller unit apartments, such as 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, are a lot easier to rent than 4-bedroom apartments or large houses. Also, there's a unique thing in Chico. There's less demand on the avenue side of Chico versus the street side. And the reason why the street side is more popular is it is closer to more things such as bars and restaurants. Even though they're both about the same walking distance to campus, again, there's just a little extra bonus if you're on the street side. Another con is these properties are time sensitive. And if you have not rented that property by the time college starts, it's probably going to sit there vacant until the next semester. I've had this happen with us where an investor goes into escrow on a property and it doesn't close before the start of the school year, and then it closes in mid-September and they're like, okay, now rent my property. And we go, it's a college property, it's probably going to sit until January, until the next semester happens. And I've also seen with remodel projects that have gone on too long, took longer than they thought. They missed the boat, and then they have to, not only did they have the vacancy during the remodel, but now they're going to have to deal with the additional vacancy while it sits for them until the students come back the next semester. Last con tends to be more turnover versus traditional property, and there tends to be more roommate exchanges. What I mean about turnover, typical college lease is going to be 1 year. And a lot of times college students go through a college cycle here in Chico, which means they'll live in the dorms the first year. Because they're not 21, they'll be on the avenue side the second year. The third and fourth year and so forth, they might want to be on the street side. So they might move as many as 3 to 4 times during that time. So in our experience, if you get a tenant to stay 2 years at a unit, you've done well on a college property, because a lot of times they'll just turn over every year. The other thing that happens with college properties, again, they're not as mature as traditional property tenants who might be family with kids, and so a lot of times they have a lot more bickering with roommates. Roommate exchanges go on, so there's a lot more paperwork with one roommate will leave and a new roommate will come in, and stuff like that. It just creates a lot more paperwork for you, and there's a lot more of those type of phone calls. Okay, hope that helped. If you have any questions, please contact Blue Oak Property Management, and we'd love to answer your questions. Thank you.